the life path, the life's path. They're just like hints into what's accessible to you with that dynamic. Do you get what I'm saying? You could either live it out or you could not. You could do the total opposite and say that shit don't make no sense and never. But if you want to like kind of know who you are a little bit, you look into these things and you see how much they kind of align and they can help you kind of switch up your direction. And there's not just, numerology. There's like tons of different systems out there that have been used for years, for generations and like hundreds of years that really fucking work. And it just works. Is it a generalization? Hell yeah, it can be. However, it's influences and dynamics. That's all it is.
Hey, yo, check this out. Sean Johnson, Time legend, Sade Renee.
Namaste.
You're back to another episode of The IC. Welcome back, everybody. Remember, join the Discord, comment, leave all your comments, get back tuned with us. You already know what time it is. Yiddy. How's everybody's week?
Hi, guys. Pretty good.
Yo, we were just talking about retrograde. Like, why is everything so motherfucking like iffy right now?
Yeah, things looking a little funky right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, it just took us like 2 hours to set up this show
for no reason.
Technology's going like I have no idea what's going on right now. Sade was telling us that we're going in retrograde. A bunch of like
everything's in retrograde. I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Be careful. Yeah. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just like all the places where y'all feel things are going wonky. Like personally, I know where that is, but it's just Saturn, Venus, and Pluto. So it's just like take heed to what's going wonky, and it's just like recalibrate, move slow, reassess what ain't working, let that shit go, like, and come back. Just take your time. That's it. That's all it is. It's nothing to be afraid of. It just looks crazy because you know what? In order for new things to come, old shit gotta crumble.
See,
you can't put, what do they say? You can't put new grapes in old wineskins. Can't put new wine in old wineskins. It sours.
So
like your world gotta like look like it look like it's falling apart, but it gets greater later.
I feel like when I listen to this stuff, I get so many questions. So like how old is old? What are we talking about getting rid of here? Well,
I mean, it's whatever. It's personal. Like it's collectively, of course, like it's going on, but it's like where are the wonks at? Like for me, a lot of times right now it's really just like, what do I want from my life? I worked really hard to get to a certain place in my life, and now shit that I have not fucking even like thought about in the last 13 years is coming up. And it's like, okay, am I going to respond to this the way that I responded 13 years ago? Or have I learned the lessons? Is there some things that I'm doing that I need to stop doing because it's not going to help me move forward? It's just like life has to move forward. Life has to change. Things are going to change. And you can't continue the same thought pattern, the same mindset, the same habits, the same behaviors if you want to move forward with it. Because time, my good friend SJ here says, time gonna pass anyway. So it's like, you got to make it count. You got to like all those little cracks and things are getting weird. Look at it. Take a good hard look at it and see what's working, what's not. Is it you? Is it them? Is like what? Like I said, just take your time and really just kind of like practice some self-awareness, some collective awareness. Just pay attention. I don't think it's like, don't move too hasty. Don't make any like quick emotional decisions because you ain't gonna learn the lessons.
So you seem to be pretty in tune with all this shit, right? Let's say someone's watching this now. Where would you advise them to start with all this?
I would advise them to start with where would I tell somebody to start? I can only tell people where I started. So I started with just like my mindset, you know, like what kind of thought patterns was I holding on to that kind of just were getting in my way, you know, like what kind of repetitive patterns did I see in my friendships, in my relationships, in my work, in my life overall? There was like a whole bunch of different areas of my life that I just wasn't really happy with. Me personally, I used astrology because I just was like, something not adding up and I don't know what it is. And everybody loves talking about their sun sign, but it's like you have a whole birth chart. And each chart represents a different dynamic within yourself. And I just use that to kind of as a guide, as like a little bit of a map, because there's strengths in the aspects that you have. And this shit is like so deep. So I wouldn't advise anybody to just go fucking look that shit up and try to figure out that shit themselves. I'm just one of those nerdy researcher people.
The thing is, that does, like, I get what you're saying, but a lot of times that doesn't work for everybody.
And that's why I said I can only say
some people
what works
have
for me.
like you know how they say we have like the left side of our brain, the right side of our brain, and like one side is like logical and like, you know, like
one side is a little more creative.
Yeah, one side's a little more creative. Some people just like think in that one side and it's like, don't tell me about astrology. Don't tell me about none of that shit. Like, how is this going to work, like, practically?
And I think that's kind of like where people kind of get it fucked up, because it does work practically. But it's so deep and it's so, like, extensive because it's actually a study. Like, they've been studying this shit for years. It's extremely practical. It's just that it's been kind of, like, convoluted and made into this, like, woo-woo thing. It's literally just, like, this structure of points in the sky that align with the day that you were born, and they just influence certain aspects of your behavior. It can be extremely practical, and it can be put in a practical sense.
I get that. A lot of times I feel like people that go more into like personality types in psychology do better at like maneuvering through people than like just suddenly putting a blanket over all Aquariuses. You know what I mean? And all Geminis and all Libras. It's like
it don't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
It don't work like that.
I feel like it starts to make more sense when someone like Sade breaks it down, because you breaking it down not just to like a sign. It's like, nah, there's like all this other stuff that's involved with it that are kind of specific to you and other people, of course, but it will make more sense to you than it's like Aries are just all so blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm not like that. So now you start to think it's fake. But then when you talk to someone who's a little more deeper than that, then you're like, oh shit, all right, they kind of got me pegged on that. Like,
because that's what you got to break it. That's what I said. It's definitely not. There's people who literally study this shit.
But if you take it to a point where like there's more on the line, say if you're having like you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, and you're in a business meeting where $4 million is on the line, right? And you know this guy is an Aries, right? Are you gonna use everything that you know before this one conversation to are you gonna use that as like your
no,
like a compass?
That's silly. But you take it into consideration when you look at certain responses to things. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not a generalization. You could never just make a generalization just because somebody said, "Oh, I'm a Scorpio." You can't make that generalization. You just can't. Like it's to be taken into consideration that there's certain aspect that this person might present to you, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But like I said, it's not just your sun sign. Like when you meet somebody, sometimes like some people, you'll never get to meet the emotional side of them. That's not the same as the ego side of them. Your sun is your ego. Not everybody's going to show you their heart. You're not going to do business with everybody. So there's just different elements to a whole chart. And I'm telling you, business people do study this shit. They do use this shit. Like,
course.
have you ever noticed that most people hold business meetings on Wednesdays?
See, there's this guy. There's this guy going around on TikTok, right?
Oh, the numbers guy.
Yeah, there's this numbers guy, and some of the things that he says are like really ridiculous. Like he gets like, for example, this might not be right. But he's like, everybody born on the 5th has money. And it's just like, no, not everybody in the fucking world born on the 5th is balling. Like that's not the way things work.
That's improbable.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's what?
It's not that they're born, like they have money or they're balling. It's just certain energies align with making more money. Like you see, like tell me you haven't seen a lot of Taurus who just kind of like just get along in life. Things are just handed to them. Things are just like, you know, like earthly things like money, jobs, like all the stuff that kind of is like earth territory, like practical territory is just kind of given to them. I'm not saying that every Taurus falls into this. What I'm saying is there's certain energies that align with numerology and astrology that influence and impact certain dynamics. Mm-hmm. That's it. So like if you are like the life's path, they're just like hints into what's accessible to you with that dynamic. Do you get what I'm saying? You could either live it out or you could not. You could do the total opposite and say that shit don't make no sense and never. But if you want to like kind of know who you are a little bit, you look into these things and you see how much they kind of align and they can help you kind of switch up your direction. And there's not just, you know, numerology. There's like tons of different systems out there that have been used for years, for generations and like hundreds of years that really fucking work. And it just works. Is it a generalization? Hell yeah, it can be. However, it's influences and dynamics. That's all it is. People also can get lost into like a certain mindset of superstition when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Yes. Like, the reason I look into astrology because I think, like there's a psychological difference of somebody that was born in the summer, right? Or like born in the winter. And, to them, anytime a certain season comes, it brings up different synapses. Yeah. Or like the exact time that you were born is almost like the type of soul you have. You know what I mean? And like the type of energy that you bring forth. But I also think that like horoscopes are bullshit. Horoscopes are bullshit.
Like I would see, oh, today you're gonna have a horrible day and this is gonna happen. And it's like, no, that's but that's like, my point. I can't wake up every morning and look at a horoscope and like
it's convoluted. It's way too generalized.
And think that my day is gonna go like that.
Well, think about it this way. What's something that was like at one point not so popular, right? It became popular and then it got watered down into something super superficial, and you're like, that's not it. That's not even half of what that is. Like, think of anything. Like, what can I think of? What's something that's just like,
I think of mad stuff. I think of a lot of the shit that like I'm interested in. Like,
think about when it comes mainstream,
like video games.
Exactly.
Like now they make video games with like 2 different types of controllers. Like, okay, so you want to put it on the modern controls, Street Fighter 6, we're talking about you, where it's like, oh, you just gotta press this button and you can do all your special moves. And then there was how we learned how to do it. It was like, no, you get your ass beat till you learn how to throw a fucking fireball.
So when things become mainstream, they have a way of watering it down and kind of generalizing it and making it digestible for everyone. The collective. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? It's like, because a lot of these things are specialties. A lot, like, not everybody's meant to play video games. Not everybody's meant to be a producer. Not everybody's meant to be, you know, in certain positions. And then you have them become popular. And now they make machines and they make these they just make these easily digestible systems. Now everybody can do it.
Dumb it down.
You get what I'm saying? So like I get why people feel that way.
Yeah.
And I'm totally okay with people feeling that way. It worked for me. And if I speak to someone, like I don't specialize in birth charts. But if one of my people is just like, yo, what is this? And I'm like, well, what's going on? And I can break it down for them because I studied this shit.
I want to see mine.
Like you have to like you're Ezra, you're a producer. Is there a way to like have you seen something where they've kind of made making beats or producing something like watered down, anybody can do it?
Yeah, of course.
It's the same thing. Not everybody can do what you do.
There's still like a cause and effect. Like for example, with like producing, right? Mm-hmm. Right now on the internet, you'll see a lot of like tight beats. So you'll go to YouTube and it'll be like ASAP Rocky type beat.
Yes.
Or it'll be like,
anything.
Fabulous type beat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at a point where Lil Uzi Vert, Fabulous, or 21 Savage is going online and putting 21 Savage type beat. And these are all producers all around the world making beats specifically made for them without them having to go out and like find leads and producers to produce for them. But you'll take it like 20 years ago or something like that, when Just Blaze or DJ Premier was making the beat. You can re-loop that sample and add the same drum patterns, but it won't be the same beat.
Right.
You can't find Oh Boy on the fucking internet like Cameron type beat.
Right. So
there's only one Oh Boy. The frequencies are different.
Exactly.
Like they tune that like it's in a specific way where you can't like just duplicate it
and that's my point. That's literally my point. Like everybody has a sauce and flavor to their specialty. Like not everybody can be the fucking tech guy, but now everybody's trying to be the tech guy. Like,
and that's what you're saying with astrology is.
That's what horoscopes have diminished the art of astrology.
I like that point.
They've belittled it to a generalized horoscope.
Right.
I don't fuck with horoscopes. That shit is straight bullshit.
Right.
But you go into something like there's an app that I have called The Pattern. You put in your information. That shit. I'm like, oh, that's what's happening. That's what this is. Yeah. I'll put you onto it later. That should be breaking down. It'll tell you like, based off of like different astrological alignments, like what cycle you're going through. It has a world cycle, like there's certain things that, you can still use to understand it for yourself. But horrors, like it's become this like little stupid thing. Like our ancestors used that shit.
There's something like numerology is a little different because there's something real interesting about numbers, right? You guys know about the golden ratio?
Yeah.
Of course.
So like with the golden ratio, like say if somebody was to take your height measurement, right? And they would just be like, oh, you're 5'11". But when you break it down to like centimeters and you break it down to like millimeters, you're not just 5'11". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're basically saying when you take the whole Fibonacci sequence and you take like numbers, like math, that's the only way you can get like precise. Like with everything, like the measurement of like our eyes, like to our nose, like you can take that and they're the same measurements of like a leaf or the same measurements of like a whirlpool or like a tidal wave or something like that. Or like a thumbprint.
Yeah.
Like something like that. So like, they always say like math is like the fingerprint of God. So that's why I would like look into numerology and like try to see where, like see what I can take from it. But I don't know, like a lot of these like astrology, a lot of these things that people like identify themselves with their whole life. Like you meet a girl in a bar and she's like,
so annoying.
What's your sign?
So annoying.
And I'll lie and I'll be like an Aries. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, no, I lied. I'm a Scorpio. That makes sense. And it's just like, no, it does. Anything's gonna make sense to you because you're just
they want answers.
Yeah, you're connecting dots that don't exist.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of like the world that we live in. We want to understand things. And I think that's why you have labels, you have numbers to identify something. And I think it makes people feel better when they can identify you using that. They can kind of like
it cuts out some of the work.
Yeah, it kind of can. They can try to make an assumption.
Yeah,
you know. And I think it's unfair to do that to yourself. I really feel like not enough people in the world do their own research, do their due diligence of really kind of figuring stuff out. I think a lot of things, especially like with social media, have like just come to the surface and have just become like just bullshit.
Nasty.
Just straight bullshit. Like I think everything's become like this capitalistic, how can I make money off of it? How can I make it digestible for the masses?
Yeah.
And it's not, it was never meant to be that.
How do we do it faster?
Yeah,
how do we make
quicker?
It yeah, and it's just like,
and then people binge watch.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
You're an Aries.
Everything
this is what's happening
value
for you. And it's just like, I remember a friend of mine, she does like readings and she does them on YouTube and she's pretty popular. And one day, you know, she asked me, you know, can you do it with me? Can you do some card readings? And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, you know, I'm open to it. And it was for the collective. Me personally, it didn't work for me. It did not work for me. And I'm just like, I get where it may work for her and people will, you know, see it, hear it and be like, oh, yes, yeah. Like they can relate to it. You know, and they may feed into it a little bit too much, take it a little too literal and take it to heart. I think that it's just the times we're in. It's like people want to know.
I got a question for y'all. What do you think is like the most absurd conspiracy theory that you believe in, that you guys believe in?
Absurd?
It's not
absurd, but I mean, like, maybe absurd is the wrong word, but
nah, because they be out there.
Like, what's the most ridiculous shit you believe?
It's not a conspiracy theory, and I don't know if it's even that ridiculous because I know there's other people out there that probably think the same way that I do. People think that fortune favors certain people. And I don't think fortune favors certain people. I think fortune favors those who believe they are fortunate.
Ooh. What?
Ooh.
Like, what does...
Like, people are like, oh, I'm just unlucky. I never win. So is
that the, like, law of attraction type of thing?
Well, it's like the man who says he can.
Yeah.
And the man who says he can't is right.
He's not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. It's like...
No, but so what do you... How do you explain, like, us going to the casino that night?
And me winning? For
no fucking reason.
Because I truly believe when I walk in, I'm going to fucking win.
Mm.
I'm not doing anything different from you.
So the story is we have nothing to do and it's like some Tuesday night or some dumb shit, right? We go, yo, let's go to the casino. There's gonna be mad bitches at the casino walking around. Like Beavis and Butthead type shit, right? We go in and Ty's like, yo, SJ, press that button. Like, what are you talking about? We press it, we win $60. He's like, you have a pure soul. Press this button. And like we just keep winning and I'm like, why do we like this doesn't make any sense?
Because I believed it. I believed it. But how I make my own luck.
So how, like, practically how does that work?
I can't explain it. I just think when I'm like, bro, I know I'm gonna win. When it comes to things of just random luck, draw or anything, just roll a dice or anything like that. I'm like, I'm gonna win. Flipping cards or anything,
just like that.
Just guess a card. I guess a random card. I didn't do any math. I didn't count the cards.
Yeah,
bro. I'll flip the card and call it, just because. Not right every time, but I've been right more than I'm wrong.
I need to adopt
So you believe like the law of attraction works?
Yes, I really believe. If you believe it,
like attract like.
Yeah, if you believe it, Whatever you think your luck is what your luck is going to be. If you think you are the most unfortunate person on this fucking planet, you will be. If you believe you are the most fortunate motherfucker on this planet and you only need one pick, you might get it on that one pick.
See, I believe in the law of attraction, but I believe it because like just the way life works, that it works. Like, for example, like if I had a goal to like work on a certain business, like the only failure of that business is stop working on the business, because by working on that business for years and years, you learn mistakes. This is practical. Mm-hmm. You learn mistakes and you fix those mistakes. And by 5 years of fixing 300 mistakes, you're successful. You know what I mean? But
that's also Murphy's Law.
It's
everything that can happen will. So if you keep persisting, it will happen.
Yeah, but that's the law of like consistency. You know what I mean? So but you're saying that without being consistent, if I just believe something, then I fuck with it, but I don't know why that how that makes sense though.
I don't know, but I showed you.
I don't think that. I also think like that's the problem with people. I think that's like a big issue, and I know I have it as well. Like, not everything is practical, not everything's going to make sense, and everybody wants to make sense of everything. And that's why you have all these people getting you, because they're like, oh, you want to learn this fast? read Astrology for Dummies. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like everybody wants to understand a thing. And I think some things aren't meant to be understood. They're meant to be lived. And I kind of agree with, Ty, because at one point in my life, I thought I was just the luckiest bitch. I just thought whatever I wanted, like I got. But I think like just one day I may have had an off day, and then everything went wrong. And then after that, I just believed like nothing works out for me. And it like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm wobbly.
So, what do you think is like the most ridiculous like thing conspiracy you believe? Maybe if it's not a conspiracy, or like it is a conspiracy.
The conspiracy that I believe is that because I believe in a lot of them that aliens are already here, really? That some of us are aliens, and like aliens are. I believe that aliens are
like reptilians live in the center of the earth type shit.
Why they gotta be reptilians?
Okay, so wait, but listen. See, this is another
the
thing.
Anunnaki. The
Anunnaki and the reptilians are two different creatures, and that's the crazy part. This is why I believe it. There's more.
I don't like shit that anybody tells me.
Huh?
I don't like listening online to a TikTok. I don't like hearing something from somebody else and like motherfuckers telling me like we grew up in school and they're telling us that dinosaurs are real. And we have no fucking real evidence that dinosaurs are real. They say that they dig up dinosaur bones and shit, but you know, when you go to the museums, only 2 of those bones are like real. And they could be bones. They're making up how they think a dinosaur should look. We have no fucking idea.
So you don't think that, with that being said, that if it intrigues you, and I'm talking about only if it intrigues you, only if you feel like, because this is what I do. If I hear something that makes me go, I go look that shit up for myself. I go down. I love jumping down rabbit holes. I love fucking conspiracies. I love all that shit. But I'll dig. And with the whole like alien things, I will dig, and I've dug and I've digged, and I've just found information, and then I trip. So
Ty, right? So Ty, right? That's the closest. Tripping is the closest. Like that I know, like the signal, like
to get to the next level.
Yeah, to get to that point. Let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
If you were put on this earth and there was like nobody to tell you about like where we are on this planet, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You just had your own resources, your own knowledge to look up in the sky and kind of guess and make like an educated guess of like where we were, where would you think we were? If that makes sense.
So, all right, I need the question to be a little bit more specific. Are we talking about location? Like, what are we talking about here?
Like that we're on a floating rock?
Yeah, would you think that we're in space? How do you know that like there's space? How do you like?
Well, space is just it's just anything between anything that is of like matter. Anything that is not matter.
So there's space between us.
Yeah. So when you look up, yeah.
When I say space, I mean like you're going outer like space? What NASA tells you. Like you're going out.
You're going to space. I think that's why it's called space, if I had to guess. Yeah,
right. But like, how do you know? Do you for sure think and know that we're in like space?
That this is just some floating rock in space.
Yeah, you would think that on your own.
On my own? Nah, probably. Maybe I would think it, but there would be no way for me to confirm it. It would just be like my own little theory.
You would still think like, oh, I think we're floating around on a rock in
I would
infinity.
I would assume. I'm thinking of it in like the most primitive level. I would have assumed that whatever that ball of light is, I would assume that it's the same ball and that it's moving around us.
And we're staying still.
And we're the ones in the middle. And then the sun is this.
So you would think that
I would think
everything revolves around
Yes,
Earth.
I would think that the moving thing, like we're the centerpiece, and then there's something moving around us that provides some kind of light and energy and shit. That's what I would think of it as.
Right.
I don't know how the fuck I would ever guess that we're the ones like.
Yeah, rotating and like orbiting.
Like, how do I know that that's not the same ball? Like, it gets to a certain point and it looks different. Like, that's not the sun and the moon. That's the same or it's big ass star that just like looks different at different times.
Right.
That's how I would think about it, just looking at it. Because I wouldn't be able to prove anything else just based on looking at it.
That's why I think like those like ancient civilizations, they probably got a little more closer like to what we should believe, maybe, like I could say it like that.
I think they were more pure.
It's because they're this is a fact right here, right? We're like, our biology, like our genetic makeup, is more closely related to a psychedelic mushroom than an ape.
Whoa.
Like that to me makes me think that like when you feel all these like whatever you feel from psychedelics, or when you
is the closest to the truth.
Getting closer.
Yeah, you're really getting closer to what everything really is. Like, and that's like a fact. Like
I think that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's no reason why. This is funny because it's a me thing. But whenever I'm tripping, the first thing I want to do is take my shoes off. So that I can feel the ground and like feel like, okay, like
you feel
now I'm connected.
Feel grounded.
Yes. I thought I was being weird.
Like, I'm connected.
Yeah. No, I take my socks off.
Everything.
And just do this.
Yeah. Start wiggling your toes.
Yeah.
Right?
And they say that it's like conductor, like you're like I was talking to my sister today, and I was telling her that I'm going to Jamaica in November, and she says when you go in there, walk barefoot.
OD.
She goes, walk barefoot and like get the energy from that land.
It's called earthing.
I went to Jamaica, right? I used to have bad eczema, like on the insides of my arms and on my neck, right? I went in the water and my mother was like, oh, take the sand on the bottom of your water and put it on like your eczema and stuff. So I'm like, what? Like, what are you watching for to do? Like, why are you telling me that? I did that and I never had eczema ever again.
Bro,
and I don't know how to explain that.
Something is not explainable, bro. It's felt. It's not meant to be explained or anything like that. It's meant to be felt. You just do it.
It has to be like an experience.
You don't do anything. You just experience it. And that's just all of us, the same thing. Why do all of a sudden we want to feel like fucking plants? Once we start tripping, all of us are just like, nah. I need to root.
I felt like a cat.
Yeah, like I need to actually touch the ground with my little paws. Like,
yeah. One time I was like tripping and I was like staring out the window and I just wanted to hug a tree so bad. And it was raining and I just had this like urge to like go outside. I just wanted to be outside and touch a tree. But I'm like, if I go outside, it might not end well.
Yeah, because
I just wanted to go hug a tree.
As much as we hate to admit it, we really are like, we come from the same thing as a lot of the things around us where we're different from that. Like, no, we're not, bro. We're of all of the same things. And I think tripping and how deep you go down the rabbit hole with astrology and psychology and philosophy and all that stuff, you start to realize like there's a lot that we have in common. And we try to be like, oh, that's just an animal. Like, nah, it's not just an animal. Like, we're all of the same thing. We share the same soul. That's why there's no I. This is we. It's just we.
That's another universal law of oneness.
Yeah, we are one. Like,
I always get this like, you know what? I sound stupid when I say this, so I'm gonna say this so the people in the comments can say, "What a moron!" Right? And every time I say this, like people like, "What are you talking about?" But like, you know how some people think like, we just found ourselves here. Some people think we're like, when you look at the Earth from a bird's eye view, like we look like bacteria spreading on the Earth, like almost we just found ourselves here, right?
Like we just magically appeared one day.
We just magically appeared one day. But if we just magically appeared one day, if we are not connected and part of the earth, then there wouldn't be fruits and apples. Like we're put here and there's shit for us to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, why is there why is there shit for us to eat?
Because it all comes from one place. It comes from one thing. It builds a whole fucking ecosystem where everything can exist based on another thing. And
the circle of life.
Yes, it's not an accident. It's a little chaotic. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's kind of chaotic and a little bit brutal and kind of barbaric. But all things considered, it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
It only works because it was built like that.
Right.
Some things are accidental. Yeah. Not everything can be accounted for when you're creating something.
True.
Right.
But
happy accidents.
Yeah. But at the same time, you can tell that there's some kind of like schematic to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This shit is intentional.
Yes.
I learned, being in school and I'm in science and, it was such a, like sitting in science class, like sitting in biology. I'm in human biology right now and doing like chemistry. I'm like, yo, God is real. Like, I'm like, something made it. Like something intentionally put these pieces together and these pieces work with this piece and that piece intentionally connects to that piece to make that piece
down
work.
To
down to the toenail.
Number.
Like everything is just
like,
yo, there has to be, and I guess it's for me, like, I feel like science is such a spiritual thing. And I know like that sounds weird because science people probably wouldn't say that. But I feel like science, like doing chemistry reminds me of doing magic.
Yeah. No,
it's just like you put all these components together and they make a bigger thing. Like what? And it just blows my mind. And I think that's like you said, like we're here. I think we're to have experiences, but we keep, as humans, we are conscious of that experience, so we trying to make sense of it, so we keep making all these like theories, we put labels on things and we try to like understand a thing, and then I think like as time has gone on, it's become like oversimplified, so it's kind of lost the integrity of the depth of what we're really experiencing. Everybody's like, it's not that deep. And I think everything's that fucking deep. But we live in this very shallow, superficial, capitalistic, like environment where everything has to have like a monetary purpose to it. And it has to be digestible and it has to be for everyone. And it has to be.
So that's what I was going to say to that point. I think people just don't like that. They don't like when there's no answer. When there's just like,
it makes them uncomfortable.
That's just the way it is. Like people hate hearing that.
And
I hate hearing that sometimes.
That's the scariest.
When it comes to dealing with other people, it's like, oh, that's just the way they are. I'm
nah,
like, no.
Right?
Like, there's
Can't be.
There has to be some explanation to this.
But
when I real world and fucking things that I see, sometimes I don't even waste like energy in my brain to try to figure out why something happened or why it does what it does. Sometimes I just look at it and I'm just like,
that's funny because like I was like meditating like a long time ago, and it was like during a certain time where like the race thing was really big. It was just like all this very scary time, and it didn't make sense to me, and I was meditating. And as I'm meditating, you know, I'm eyes open and I'm just like staring at the clouds and I'm just looking. I'm not high, I'm not nothing. I'm just being. And I look at the grass and I'm like, yo, there's green grass, there's yellow grass, there's brown grass, there's dead grass, there's live grass. And I'm like, but it all coexists. And they're not fighting for space. I look at the trees and I'm like, the trees know what to do in the wintertime. They know what to do in the springtime. They know what to do each season. They know when to change colors without being told what to do. And I was just like, I think that humans have gotten too smart. Yeah. And we've gotten so smart for our own good. Yeah. And we're just
uncomfortable with just being.
And I think, like you said, like some things is just like you have to just be tolerant and kind of accept that we're just all kind of coexisting and nobody really knows what they're doing. Yeah. No. And everybody's just trying to figure it out.
When I figured that out, my life changed for so much of the better. And I was able to communicate with all kinds of people, animals, all this stuff way easier because I realized that motherfuckers are just trying to live. They're just being. They don't know.
I think I forgot. I became, and this is what I think this is what happens, right? You get into the world, you start working, you start intermixing with people, you start, you know, you get into the hamster wheel of life. And I think you become disconnected with that ideology because I had that, but I wasn't working. I was literally just meditating and doing yoga and being a mom and kind of just like, I was just existing at that point. And once I got back into the swing of things of life, which is what I prayed for, I think I got disconnected with that. And I almost I just said it until we just had this conversation. Yeah. It's like I almost forgot. Yeah. I forgot that like we're just all trying to figure it out. And I've been judging myself too harshly. I judge others too harshly. And I apologize for anybody that I've been a little too insistent and harsh on. I literally forgot that.
You really gotta like be easy on everybody and yourself.
It's balance. It's balance. Cause you want to be like, not to be all biblical, but you want to be of the world, but not in it. You know, like I think there's a beauty to being at a bar. There's a beauty to being at a party and everybody's just losing it. I think there's beauty to being by yourself. There's beauty to coexisting with your friends, with your family. And I think sometimes we just get caught up in like life.
I think there's beauty at
the titty bar.
I think, yeah.
I like titties.
I think there's beauty in being at war too.
Oh, dang.
Not like I don't know. There's this certain war state I get into where I feel like everybody's against me and I'm almost like the phoenix and I have to rise and I have to be the underdog and overcome and defeat everything in my way. And with that, I'm like putting myself, like I'm using ego to my advantage and putting myself into a better place and like overcoming, and it's like a feeling of triumph, but it comes from like this war like feeling.
I think it's naturally like a warrior's mentality, right? Like you can't be a warrior if you're always worried about the fucking future.
You gotta be present.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to fight.
Wow.
You wouldn't be as good as the man next to you, because if the guy next to you is only worried about this moment right here and he feels that the outcome is only a certain % of his control, he's gonna do the most to fucking
manipulate, maneuver.
Yes, he's But if you're sitting here and trying to decide if the outcome is in your favor or his favor, bro, whoever forgets about the outcome is probably going to win the fight.
I needed to hear that.
They say when you're concentrated about the past too much,
you're depressed.
Yeah, you're depressed, and when you're too into the future, you're anxious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anxiety is really feeling not in control.
Yeah.
And depression is thinking that it can't get better. And I think that's the beauty of the present moment, is that at any given moment, you create the future, what's to come. And what's in the past, it's happened. You've experienced it, whether it was good or bad. It's never an L if you learn the lesson.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another thing. Like, a lot of people don't practice like being present in the moment. And I feel like in that moment, there's always multiple decisions you can make. And sometimes you just got to jump.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't overthink. Because you overthink, you'll get stuck.
Yeah, you get stuck.
Easily.
Or you run.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like...
Running.
Yeah. I agree. People love fucking nostalgia, and I think nostalgia is a dangerous fucking feeling.
Oh,
because that shit will have you it will have you living in the fucking past thinking that shit is never going to be as good as that.
You'll get stuck in a vortex,
and your actions will start to show that.
Yeah.
You remember when I tripped not too long ago, probably like 3 months ago, and I called you?
Mm-hmm.
And I had this like revelation about the ocean. Like, that should kind of change me. Like, just to say it on the show. Like, I was tripping and I was like looking at water, right? And I don't know, sometimes when you trip, it tells you stuff. And it was saying that like for me, water is like almost like, it's like godlike, because it's like the Holy Trinity, mind, body, and soul. And it's the only element that has 3 states: solid, liquid, and gas. And when you talk about water, like, and you move like water in life, like you go with the flow. Water can take life, water can bring life, and things like that. So it was telling me that, like, in water life, different moments in lives are different coordinates in the ocean, right? And say like your 6th birthday was 96 by 108, and this moment was that. Your moment with your ex-girlfriend was this moment there. But the way the water works, if you go back to that coordinates, the currents are different. It's going to be completely different. Like waves and currents and so much things happen. When you go back to that nostalgia, it's not there anymore. So the best thing to do is go with the flow, go with the ocean, and just worry about the present, where I am at this moment.
Yeah.
And like keep it moving. I can't worry about what's going to happen in the coordinates I'm getting to, because it's going to change by the time I get there. And like that should just change, because I just stopped looking at like past relationships, just like the shit I used to do. And I just found so much value in where my boat is at now. You get what I'm saying?
That shit is fucking epic. 1, 2, it makes so much fucking sense. It really does. Nostalgia is dangerous, and people promote it and preach it, but you have to be very, very wary of how much nostalgia you take in, because you will be fucking carrying around so much baggage.
Yeah.
Because you can't let go of, and
then nobody wants to unpack with you. And
then the future, you worry about the future so much that you're losing so much of yourself right now.
Why are you talking to me like this?
Like, and right now, it's just like, oh yeah, I don't, like, this is, bro, the future will create anxiety, panic, fear, terror. It will make, you will make mistakes. Right?
Like the way I met Ty, right? I was in like a dark time in my life, and I needed a job, right? I came from just like directing for a living, and I was like, I'm gonna stop servicing people. Like I just can't deal with people right now. So I went to go get a job and as a graphic designer, or like a printer in a clothing store, right? And Ty was my supervisor, and by like 3 to 4 months of me working there, we moved to like one of the biggest malls in our radius, and it turned to this job where we were in the middle of this big mall, and I was graphic designing, and it was like just a great job and a great time. But and like Ty misses it too, like
the golden days.
It was the golden days. But if we both try to go back to that mall and like live that time,
motherfucker, is one of the most empty feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I went back to go to the movies not too long ago.
Yeah,
and I was like, bro, this shit feels so fucking empty and different from what I remember it.
It's
being.
not it.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But at the time that I was there, it was fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was then.
That was then.
Yeah.
This is now.
I think
you don't have a connection to it anymore as much as you think you do.
Yo, and I didn't tell you, but that mall is like a big part of my childhood. Like, my mom used to overwork herself. She's a registered nurse, and we didn't eat dinner at the table. My mom never used to go over my homework and stuff. I don't resent her or anything. My mom was great. She did what she can do. But she's a shopaholic. I always grew up getting fresh, going to the mall. Like, she's a shopaholic. And we used to go to the Palisades, and we used to go a lot. And that was like that, and going to Costco was like the only real like times that like I spent with my mom. So like sometimes I'll just go to the Palisades and walk around, and I didn't really notice to myself that it's like this is just like a fucking, not a trauma bond, but it's just like you're going back to familiar places for yourself. Yeah. So just the fact that I'm working there, it was just like so comforting. It was just like a natural feeling. I was going there from like the beginning of time, bro, walking around. Just to go to movie theater and get like those curly fries and shit. And that would be like
with the cheese.
Yo, that would be like it for me. Like I could do that once a year and I'm like happy. But
well, I think sometimes it's okay to look back and to see how far you've come, and to just like I had a great childhood. It had its stuff, but I thoroughly enjoyed my childhood, and I remember not wanting to grow up. But now that I'm grown up and I have children, instead of trying to remember and relive and feel like I felt as a child, I try to give that to my children. And also, I think sometimes, like, when you revisit places, you build new memories. And it's okay to go back and remember things, but just not to get stuck there.
Yo, especially if those memories weren't the best. Bad. Like, you have to go back to, like...
Have you ever realized you end up there by accident sometimes?
Yeah, because it's life trying to tell you, like, you need to move on from these memories.
Yeah. I've definitely revisited places, and it was just like, oh, wow. And you remember the feelings, the smells, but you're a different version of yourself. You're probably with different people doing different things, and you're like, it kind of can change the energy of that.
And it's also humbling.
Very humbling.
It's like a real humbling experience.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's weird. It can be surreal sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you just look around and you're like, oh shit. Like I was a little person. Like I went to Playland recently.
Damn.
And I got sad.
Yeah.
I got sad. I looked around and I was like, this is the place that I loved as a kid. Yeah. Like it looked like one of those amusement parks, them abandoned amusement parks that you see in movies and shit.
Yo, that's why it's
stuff
like
was shutting down.
Memories you have with kids.
It was smaller.
Like memories you have with kids that you're just like you're not really thinking about. Like those kids are gonna remember that like shit forever.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like I don't know. That Playland shit fucked me up. I took my daughter. And she had a blast. We had like two different, totally different experiences. I'm like, this is so sad. I'm like, this is small. Like every roller coaster was smaller. Like it just looked so different. And I'm like, this is what I used to fucking love going there. Like 4th of July, just mad kids just hop on a bus and go to Playland. And now I'm here with my kid and she's with all of her friends and she's having the time that I had. And I'm sitting here like, this is really sad. I don't know. It was really weird, but it was nice to see her kind of like, I think that too, like when you have kids, seeing them have some of the experiences that you had or being able to give those experiences to them. And you're like, this is what my parents were doing.
Yeah.
And it feels good. Like, and they're like, Mom, that was so much fun. Can we do it again? And I'm like, I didn't have the same time she had, but she loved it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was sitting down, like, I don't talk to my sister too much. But she's the only sister I have where we're from, both parents, you know? And, like we shared a lot of memories, like of course, cause I grew up with my sister, but, I'm about to be 35 in November and I'm just finding out shit about my parents that I should have been known. Like, my father, his father died when he was 9 years old, right? And when I ask what happened, they always go, "Oh, yeah, I can't lick him down." They just say that. You get what I'm saying? But he told my sister the other day, like, you know, I didn't meet my mom until I was 17. And I was like, Grandma?
And you knew her
you get what I'm
like
saying?
your whole life.
You don't like, and it's like, that's why you are the way you are. Like you don't like. It's crazy when you think about like where things come from and why you are the way you are now and how you're maneuvering through the present because of the past you didn't know. You know what I mean? Because of these coordinates you weren't aware of. You know what I mean? So like adding on to what you're saying, like you're definitely right about that.
Yeah, that's to piggyback off the point of like going to some place that was crazy to you, like with your kids. I think that's a big part too. Like sometimes if you want to experience that nostalgia and all that stuff, I think you got to do it with different people or a different person or something and like create new memories. So the foundation is still there and you're kind of just building on it.
Right.
Like, but just constantly just going back by yourself and like trying to live in it and everything. I think it's
a bad idea.
I think it does more damage than it does good.
This shit is a marathon. And like, I used to like be quick to like cut people off. I used to be quick to like, just like be like real short with people and crass and say like, but like, when you think about it, like we can be sitting down at a bar at like 60. You know what I mean? Not even remembering like this fucking podcast.
I think we'll never forget this podcast.
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I always like bring up the point that it's gonna be cool that like our great grandkids or great grandkids can see us in 1080p at their age, like talking shit.
Yeah,
like
wow, Grandpa was a hot boy.
Yeah, I only seen one picture of my grandfather from my father's side. That's it. Never spoke to him, never just seen one picture, and he's just over there like you know what I'm saying? He's just like in Jamaica and mad blur and he's like yeah, candid. And like that's it.
I feel blessed to have like experienced my grandparents, except one. But like I remember just being obsessed with the photo albums and seeing my dad when he was a kid and seeing my grandparents when they're young. It's so cool. This
is the new version of the photo album.
I would like
That's
to make
crazy.
I'm going to make a photo album for both of my kids, but it's just like, see, you know, you just don't know who your parents were when they were kids, and just to see it is just like, oh
yeah, it is kind of crazy. My mom looks so innocent. I'm just like, oh God. I only know her now. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, you're like these are the people that get on my nerves now.
Yeah. My mom on the bus with all her friends, like she got big ass gold earrings on. She's like 15. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
I remember I was at a barbecue in New Rochelle and it was like some neighbor that's mad fake with us, right? So I go to the barbecue and they have a big ass handle of like Jose Cuervo's or like some shit. I forgot what it was, and I steal it, right? Because they always calling the cops on us, right? And like she goes, "What's that?" And she saw me with it, and she's like, "Oh, I remember I used to do that." Yeah, and I'm just like, wait,
what?
I'm not in trouble. You know what I mean? And my mom went to Bronx Community College, and she was living in New Rochelle. And you forget, you're like, oh yeah, you guys were out here struggling.
They were doing the same shit. Same shit.
Yeah, and you just like think, oh, it was my parents.
Yeah. Then don't be wanting to listen to them. And then the shit that they saying, it end up happening to you. And it's like, I told you that was going to happen. Like, and it's like, now you tight because nobody wants to hear I told you so. And now you thinking, how did they know that? Motherfucker, they did it.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids that now. Like my son, he'll try to do like little, scams in the house. And you're like, bro, I invented that shit.
Yeah.
Like, fuck out of here. Like, but it's at the same time, as a parent, like on a Friday night, he's like, Mom, I'm going to New Rock. I'm like, I remember I used to be fiending to go to New Rock.
OD.
Or like my daughter, like just watching them do, like my son his life is a lot similar to mine. And that shit just bugs me out. And then a lot of his friends are my friends' kids. So it's like, and my cousin's kid, like, I
can't do that.
You got a whole Naruto universe.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like, I'm not.
You're somebody to take the training exam.
I ain't going front, but I was when people ask me where I'm from, I always just say Westchester. You know what I mean? Because I was born, like my parents were living in Connecticut. They bought their first house before they were married, and they bought a house before they split, and it just turned to chaos, right? But I was in Danbury, Connecticut, right?
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
And my mom was working at White Plains Hospital, so she drove all the way to White Plains Hospital so her friends could deliver me, right?
That's wild.
So, growing up, first I was going to Yonkers Public School, right? And then my dad was living in New Rochelle. So we moved to Mount Vernon. We moved to Hood Mount Vernon.
Shout out to Vernon.
But I was going
Never learned in
to
Mount Vernon.
New Rochelle Public School. So I was taking the 42 bus going
to 42.
Going to elementary school on the 42 bus every day by myself. Nobody to pick me up. If I miss the last bus, I get beaten because I'm outside chilling with my friends. I'm supposed to catch the bus to go home. Right?
Big man.
So I say Yonkers, Mount Vernon, and then because the only reason I was in New Rochelle Public School, like it was crazy because they was following me home, making sure that I live in New Rochelle. And my dad had like just a one bedroom. Oh yeah,
because you can't go to school in another district.
Exactly, you can't do that shit.
And I got him in trouble. He didn't even realize.
So it's crazy because Sade was living in the apartment complex that my dad used to live. And I remember meeting this girl there, and we're playing outside and shit like that. And somehow, somehow, like I bring up this story and we can talk about it and confirm, that was me. That's crazy. Yeah. I remember I went over there, and it was just like when I just started sleeping over at my pop's house, right? He goes, Sean have 2 gal looking for him? Already, my son. 2 gal looking for him already. And it's Sade and her sister.
Like, can you come outside? And I did not know it was him either. I just remember one time.
There was some little boy.
Some little boy.
You know why though? We were digging up dirt.
Well, that's what we did outside.
And there was a Jamaican superintendent, and he said, "Stop digging up the dirt." And my dad was like, "Yo, are you dig up dirt?" We did. You're not digging up dirt, right? And I'm like, "Nah, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not digging up dirt."
Nigga, we did that shit every day.
there's nobody else you're digging up dirt with. You get what I'm saying? And she goes, yeah, we used to dig up dirt and we used to try to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, that was you?
That's crazy.
That's the crazy.
That blows my mind. That also gives me hope, though.
And yo,
they always come back.
We thinking about that shit, and we're like, yo, this is ridiculous. So after that, towards like high school, my mom finally moves to New Rochelle. You know what I mean? And then I finished high school in New Rochelle. That's why I always say, I forgot what we were talking about in the beginning though.
That you're not exactly from New Rochelle. Like you lived a bunch of different places.
Yeah, I say so Westchester, but we were talking about something else before that.
Nostalgia and going back to old places and the connections and I mean, it all circles back to just like, sometimes it's fun going back. You never know what you can find there, but you just don't get stuck there.
Yeah,
like
you can't live there forever
at all.
It's different now.
Yeah,
it has moved on, and
I feel like it has to be okay. Like you gotta be like, you gotta be okay with it. Cause I know at one point I just wasn't really, I was anxious about the future, but I just kind of like at one point I just didn't think it could get any better. I just didn't have any hope. I made a lot of decisions that kind of like put me in a place where I never imagined being. And I was just like, how did I get here? And then it was just like, okay, well, we're here now, right? Okay, so we got you here, so we can get you somewhere else. But it wasn't until like I started just making new connections, and I just for a long time, like I think it wasn't until like as it was just like, how did your book end? And I was just like, I don't know. I have no idea. I had no clue. Like I remember hating the weekends.
Wow.
Because I felt like I didn't have anything to look forward to. Like my days were blended. I couldn't tell Monday from Friday, from Sunday from Tuesday. Like I couldn't. And I think like once you start like actively living in the present, once you actively start getting excited, I think there's a lot of people who are just like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any friends. Because like right now, any female listeners, if you're cool, you're into spirituality. Actually, you ain't even got to be into it. You just got to be cool. I want new friends. Like I'm at a place where I probably got like two.
Me too. I
got like two girlfriends. I'm always with
throw
these.
That ass back.
Holla at me too. Put your numbers in the comments.
Put your numbers in the comments. Everybody put your numbers.
That's not what this is.
Everybody put your titty size and your numbers in the comments.
And that's
we're gonna choose a finalist.
That's the fastest way to get them to go away. Girls, don't listen to them. I just want some friends. Like I have two friends, but we're adults now, you know. So like everybody's gone on different paths, and I think that's a part of like nostalgia. Right. Like I just friendships that you lose.
So I'm gonna cut it there, y'all. I'm gonna keep it ultra real. Sade's battery ran out, so you won't be able to see Sade anymore. So that's another episode of IC.
Bye, guys.
Sean Johnson, Ty and Legend.
Titty size in the comments.
Sade Renee. Yo, everybody.
I just want to be a friend.
We joking. Hit up Sade. Don't talk to us. I'm taking.
Right here. Ask some questions. I'm gonna leave the little box right here. Right
Discord,
here. Ask some questions.
TikTok. Like you
guys already know.
Come
Holla at your boy. Peace.